You love your ferrets. You want them to be happy, healthy, and full of mischief. But what if I told you the food you're giving them might be doing them more harm than good? The thing is, many ferrets, especially in the US, start off life on a diet that isn't built for their tiny carnivore bodies. The biggest breeder, Marshalls Farms, feeds their kits a kibble filled with cornmeal and beet pulp, ingredients that can lead to serious health problems over time. And if you think you can just swap their food overnight, think again. Ferrets imprint on their diet by 6 months old. That means if they haven't tasted a new food before, they'll go on hunger strike rather than eat it. But don't worry, there is a way to break the cycle. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to switch your ferret's food without drama, using a sneaky step-by-step process. Stick around until the end for a bonus tip on how to get even the pickiest noodle bandit to love salmon oil, which, trust me, makes nail clipping days so much easier. Before we get into the step-by-step, let me tell you how I learned these tricks the hard way. I've had to switch my ferret's food a couple of times. The girls came to me farm-fed on raw meat, but when they both got sick at about 4 months old, they literally stopped eating anything. Instead of gobbling up their raw meat meal, they would hide it away all over the run, becoming a health hazard in its own right. The only way I could get calories into them was to crush down kibble and make it into a paste that I could encourage them to eat by hand. Luckily, they were still young enough to introduce the new food, but by the time they recovered enough to start eating by themselves again, they were firmly imprinted on the kibble. This wouldn't have been a problem if I had chosen the right brand. But like so many new ferret owners, I trusted the label on the front of the packaging. In my case, it was Versele-laga complete ferret food. Once I'd done some proper research, I realised this kibble was anything but complete. In fact, it was really bad for them, containing potato, peas and beet pulp, which can all lead to serious problems. In my defence, I hadn't anticipated switching them from raw to kibble, and when the girls stopped eating, I was in crisis mode. But it does go to show you that even the best-intentioned ferret owners can get it wrong.
Can we do it now, please, Mummy?
Having established the best brands to use, I tried to offer my cat weasels the alternatives.
This is chicken, this is their usual biscuit, and this is the lamb. Scruffle's not interested at all. Well, let's see.
I left them to play with a camera trained on the bowls. They both sniffed the new food, but only Wriggles ate, and she polished off the food they were used to.
And that is what's known in the trade as fairly conclusive evidence.
Yes, they flat out refused to try anything new. I did some deeper research and learned that ferrets imprint on both the smell and the taste of their food as a survival instinct. They learn what's safe to eat from their mother, so when they head off to start their own families, they don't accidentally poison themselves. That's why it's so important to expose young kits to lots of different proteins if you get the chance. It will make feeding them through their life much easier. Understanding all this, I wasn't about to give up, so I decided to get sneaky and introduce the new food so slowly that they didn't even notice. Using a coffee bean grinder, I turned the new kibble into a fine powder, then added a couple of pinches to their kibble container, shaking it up well and leaving it to stand for a couple of hours before feeding. Each day I added a couple more pinches to the mix, building up the flavour profile of the new food incredibly slowly. There were days when they would hesitate, sensing the presence of something suspicious. Sometimes encouraging them by offering a piece from my fingers worked, but other times I'd have to add a handful of their old kibble to the mix and shake it up well to roll back the balance a few days. Once their old food was covered in a good dusting of the new brand, I started sneaking in a few solid bits to the mix. Each day I added a few more and reduced the bad kibble by a similar amount. You have to do this incredibly slowly, or they might get suspicious, setting you back again by a few days. It took me almost a month from start to finish, but eventually I was able to completely phase out the unwanted kibble. I also took the precaution of weaning them onto a mix of 2 high-quality Kibble brands, so I wouldn't get left high and dry if one became unavailable. So that's how I did the Kibble to Kibble switch. And as I promised, a bonus tip for the many ferret owners who comment that they're struggling to find a treat their ferrets like. Salmon oil is a lifesaver for keeping your noodles still during nail trims. Some ferrets take to it immediately, others act like you've just offered them poison. Zorro? He was a salmon oil denier, but I had a plan. Step 1, the oily nose boop. He wasn't thrilled, but what could he do? After a few weeks of occasional boops, I escalated with 1 small squirt on his belly. He hated it, but the need to be clean was stronger than his stubborn streak, so he licked it all off. It wasn't long before he realised he actually liked it. Now, he begs for it whenever he sees the bottle.
What's this, Zozo?
Switching your ferret's diet isn't easy, but with patience and a little sneaky trickery, it is possible. Have you ever had to transition your ferret to a new food? How did it go? Share your stories and comments as ever. I love to read them and always reply. And don't forget to boop the like button while you're there, preferably without oily fingers. See you next time, Floof Crew.